So our first speaker today is Busola. She's a certified public accountant, a fellow chartered accountant, and a graduate of the internationally acclaimed Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I guess she's going to tell us what that means. As a health and life coach, she helps clients with their restorative health and self-discovery journeys. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome an amazing sister of mine, and I'll tell you in a bit why I call her my sister, Busola. She's also a minister, so please make welcome my dear friend, Busola. Welcome, Busola.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I want to say a big thank you to Pastor Julie Akimbami and the entire Watchers Prayer Ministry for the invitation, for this opportunity to share what I'm very passionate about. Thank you very much for this invitation. I think Pastor Julie and I talked about it over a year ago, almost a year ago or thereabout, but you know, he makes all things beautiful in his time. That's what the Bible tells us about God. And this is the time that, you know, he's made it beautiful for us to have this conversation. I have some slides that I would like to share.
Well, sorry, before you get there, I want to tell them about you and I.
Okay, go ahead.
How many years have we known each other for?
Oh, goodness gracious. I think we've known each other since 73. So that's 50 years.
It's 1973, guys. How many people were born in, I know some people here that were born before 1973, but do you understand? We were classmates in the Great Holy Child College, right? So we've known ourselves for these many years. And honestly, I'm just thankful to God who has kept us, preserved us, and caused us to be able to come together at such a time as this. You know, we began this journey, having this conversation, I think just by chance, when you began to share with me what you do. And before you begin to share your slide with what you have for us with us, unless it's in there, how did you get into this? Because you're an accountant. What brought you in?
Okay, good question. You know how God orchestrates appointments. I was actually serving in my church, you know, I was taking the place of a pastor who was kind of serving tables at the tables. And I said, no, the pastor's wife should not be serving at the tables. I would do the serving. And there were two ladies talking about integrative nutrition. And I'm like, what exactly is that? That got my interest because one, like everybody else here had shared, I wanted to be healthy. You know, I wanted to live right. Plus, I was also struggling with cholesterol. And I entered this whole cholesterol situation because I hated, you know, food being wasted. And so what people in my home did not eat, I was kind of like, you know, unfortunately, I was taking them in just because I didn't want to waste food. Well, some of those things were not the right things for my body. And those, you know, me eating those things led me into the situation where I found myself with elevated cholesterol, bad cholesterol level. And it became a struggle because once those levels get up, you know, because of lack of knowledge, you do away with one, but you eat something else that continues to feed the elevation. And
somebody
that was
said human dustbin.
I know, I don't know how many mothers here or, you know, on this platform are like that. Yes. But, you know, so I was struggling. But when I entered, you know, signed up for the program, it's a school, you know, it's about 1 year long for the school. It's international. You know, in my class, there were people from all over the world in the class. I now learned that in fighting my cholesterol battle, I was giving up some things that were good for me to give up to improve my cholesterol levels. But then I was adding some things that were not good for my cholesterol levels just because I did not know. And so I got into, the information, and it was very empowering. And as we're going to learn during my presentation, integrative nutrition health is so much more than food. And I hope you're all going to be open to receive this new information that may be new for some people, maybe not so new for others, that I'm going to share.
Awesome, awesome. So take it away. We are excited and we're looking forward to hear what you're going to share with us today. Just take it away.
Okay, well, here we go. So let me start off by saying, what is integrative nutrition health? Integrative nutrition offers a holistic approach to health and wellness. It looks at, different areas of our lives and how they're connected. There are things in our lives that, feed us off the plate. We normally talk about things off the plate. I know a lot of people, when they think of nutrition, they're thinking of the food they have put on their plate. But when we talk about integrative nutrition, we focus a lot more on those things that feed us off the plate. Our health is affected by more than the food we eat. And, these other things interact and, with the food on our plate. And these are the ones we call secondary food. So the food off the plate is what we call primary food, and the food on our plates is what we call secondary food in integrative nutrition. So what are some of the examples of primary food? And I hope you'll be able to relate to some of these things. Physical activity is not what you put on your plate. It's not when you sit down to a dining table. Physical activity is not the menu. Is not on the menu. But physical activity, I love to use the word movement, because sometimes when you talk about exercise, some people feel overwhelmed. It, sounds a little bit daunting for some people, but it just means moving, not sitting in one place, not being motionless for a long time. And for some of us who have sedentary work lifestyle, like some of us were always at our desk typing away, or at meetings sitting down and all that, you want to kind of find a way to incorporate, physical movement in your day. So some other things that affect us is spirituality. If you have inner peace, even if all you have on your table, on your plate that you're eating is something very simple, very light, that inner peace would make that food very satisfying. The other thing is career. If you have problems with your career, it creates an imbalance in your well-being. If you have problems in your relationships, whether relationships with your spouse or with your children or with your siblings, you are not going to be at peace. You may eat the best food on earth, but because there's something out of balance in your system, that food is not going to do exactly what it should do. Social life, finances, home environment, all of these things feed us, and they determine how the food we actually put on our plates interact with our bodies. So those are examples of primary food. So what are the factors impacting our secondary food? Now, secondary food, again, like I said earlier on, is really the food we actually put on our plates, like your grains, your protein, your carbs, your whatever. Those are all examples of secondary food. And so what are the factors that impact our secondary food? Your health. Your health would determine what kind of food you put on your plate. Your lifestyle, including your habits. Sometimes when we're stressed, we tend to increase emotional eating. That's when you look for something sugary, something sweet. We look for comfort food. We're like, look, I just want to feel good. Your environment and the food in your environment, in some environments, most of the food might be predominantly carbs. And in some environments, most of the food might be predominantly veggies. So for example, if you ever have to live in India for an extended period of time, you're going to end up learning to eat meatless, you know. There are other forms of protein, but most of the food are really plant-based rather than animal protein. So that's where environment determines what you put on your plate. And sometimes the seasons or the time of the year could impact what you find available to put on your plate. Your personal belief system, you know, some people don't eat pork, some people don't eat chicken, some people don't anything animal just because it's cruelty to animal. You won't find it on their plate. So personal belief system would impact what you put on your plate. Social, cultural, or economic factors could also impact what you put on your plate. I remember when we first moved to the US, and we, you know, our finances was, you know, were in a good place, not to say anything different at that time. And you know, we could only buy what we could afford at that time. And some of those things I look back and I'm just like, oh my goodness, it was just by the mercies of God that we were not consumed, because those are things that today, with what I know, I would never have put on the plate for my children to eat. But that was where we were, you know. So social, cultural, or economic factors could impact what you put on your food, on your plate. And then, you know, your primary food, that would also impact some of the things you put on your plate. I don't know if there are any witnesses here where, you know, you come back from work and the only thing you want to do is sit down on your couch and, you know, just, again, comfort yourself. And so you're looking for, you know, that piece of cake, that pie, or you end up filling your plate with a lot of animal protein just because, you know, you just wanted to distress. And that's, you know, the way you go about it. So I'm now going to discuss some concepts that impact and which we need to be aware of, even as we talk about food and our health and wellness. The first concept is called bioindividuality. This is very important. You know, what works for one person may not work for the next person. You know, you've heard one man's medicine is the other person's, could be the other person's poison. So food or diet or nutrition is bio-individual. It's customized for each person. So you need to understand that. So there's so many good things that we hear or read about. You want to ask yourself the question, is this going to work for me? The fact that somebody comes up with a testimonial about how great this product was for them does not mean that that product is going to work the same way for you, or that food is going to work the same way for you. For example, when I'm expecting guests in my home, I cook differently than when I'm cooking for myself, because I know what my system can handle. I know my system, you know, so I don't always cook in the same pot what I'm going to serve to my guests. Sometimes I eat with them, but if they're staying here for an extended period of time, it's either the way I eat or I just cook theirs separately, just because my diet, their diet, different. So you want to understand what to eat. You want to understand what works for you. And then very, very important, you want to be able to listen to your body. It's been, I don't know, almost over 10 years now, or maybe, or at least definitely close to 10 years, if not more, since I've tasted soda, any type of soda. Why? Because I noticed that as soon, you know, the gas in soda, I just, as I'm drinking it, I can see my stomach swelling. That is me listening to my body. And as I grow older, I am learning more to listen to my body. Even when I exercise, you know, when I do my stretches, I'm like listening to my body. When I'm eating, I'm like, okay, how does this impact me? How do I feel after eating this? You know, sometimes even swallowing one thing, I pause to see, how is my gut reacting to this? How is my system reacting to this? How is something, you know, you want to learn how to listen to your body. The next concept I want to also share with us is that health is complex. It's not simple. You know, our needs shift and change over time. What I needed when I was like 20, you know, in my 20s is totally different from my needs now. You know, diet and lifestyle choices, you know, are important. They're not that simple. Sometimes if you're going through a very traumatic relationship, it would impact your lifestyle. It could impact your diet. You want to understand that, and you want to understand how that would impact your health. People end up with high blood pressure because of relationships. They end up with high blood pressure because of careers or finances or children, So some of these things, impact our health. Then genetics, they've told me, finally, my primary care doctor told me, your high cholesterol level is genetics, is due to genetics. And I'm like, okay, fine. But still, I'm bringing it under control. And, I continue to work at it, because if I relax, I'm going to find myself, getting elevated LDL. And then the food fed in the womb could impact your health. This is my own area of specialization. I am actually very interested in health and wellness and nutrition before pregnancy, and then pre and postpartum wellness. I am interested in that because science is, showing us how the food people eat, not just the mother, both the father and the mother, before conception is very important. And the food the mother eats during pregnancy is also very important, because it could dictate what kind of, the makeup of your baby after it's born. The other concept I'd like to introduce to us is the concept of crowding out. A lot of times when we are thinking of health and making better choices in terms of food, diet, and health, we think we have to be very stringent with ourselves. We don't have to be stringent with ourselves. This concept of crowding out allows us to naturally and organically transition from, the things that are not good for us to the things that are more wholesome for us. So all you have to do is just add a little bit of the good ones, more of the good ones, more of the good ones gradually, until you've edged out or crowded out those things that do not work for you. So first of all, you have to identify those things that don't work for you, and then identify the things that work for you. And sometimes you have to just experiment, and that is going to be the next thing, concept. But when you're crowding out, I'm just going to encourage you to set reasonable expectations. The problem you're dealing with didn't start today. Like me now, this whole issue I'm dealing with didn't start in one day. So I need to give myself grace. I need to be patient with myself on my journey. Explore and experiment. Don't be afraid to explore. Try different types of veggies, try different types of fruits, try different combinations, try different ways of cooking your food. Even move out of your cultural cuisine restriction. Just try some other cultural menus and see how those things benefit you. I have been doing a lot of the Far East, diets and foods and drinks, especially the herbal remedies. I've been experimenting with those things. And now, after doing integrative nutrition, I started gardening. All I need are small pots, and I have my herbs in those pots. And like here in the US, it's very difficult to get the Nigerian water leaf, but gosh, in my backyard, I have plenty of water leaf. And now I finally was able to grow my ugu, because the combination of those two are very healthy, very good for my blood, very good for my system, and delicious as well. So I can actually binge on that food, edikainko, ugu with bitter leaf or water leaf with bitter leaf. I can binge on those because they're really good, they're healthy. So explore and experiment. Whatever works for you, again, learn to listen to your body. And when you find what works for you, emphasize that. Then I want to talk about food sensitivity and food labels. Understand whether you have any food allergies. Sometimes people react differently to allergies, but you want to understand whether you have food allergies. Or maybe you're sensitive to some food, sensitive in terms of these things are not the best for you. So you want to know those things. And I encourage everybody, read your food labels. Why do you need to read food labels? One, the item may contain ingredients that you are allergic to or sensitive to. The item may contain, food or ingredients that you want to avoid. Sometimes you may pick up some, maybe even a box of crackers, and it has some level of trans fat. For me, I cannot do anything with trans fat. I cannot. It's a no for LDL. It elevates your bad cholesterol. So I am looking at my food labels. The first thing I'm not just looking where it says cholesterol 0. I'm looking at, where it says saturated fat, and many food labels will not have monosaturated fat. Those are the ones that are good. But I mean unsaturated fat. They don't have unsaturated fat. Those are the good ones. But you want to just make sure that, you read the food labels, you understand what it is, and you're looking at the sugar content. I'm looking at if it has added sugars, I'm going to keep away from it. I love cranberries in my salad, but then when I start paying attention to cranberries, because of the cranberries are tart. And so to kind of process them or dry them out, you have to add some sweeteners. But when I read the level of added sugars, I know this is not going to work for me, with what I'm trying to kind of keep in balance. So I started drying my cranberries myself. So when cranberries are in season, I just buy them. And rather than use sugar to sweeten my cranberries, I use honey to sweeten my cranberries, and I can moderate the level of honey, that I'm using. So you want to make sure that you're watching the sugar content and the sodium and the salt content. You know that for salt, the adult, according to the American Dietary Association, you really shouldn't do more than 1 teaspoon of salt a day. That's what they recommend. Self-care, I nurture yourself, and as part of nurturing, I encourage gratitude. I tell my clients, I said, when you have an outlook of gratitude or mindset of gratitude, a lifestyle of gratitude, things that would ordinarily bother somebody else will not bother you so much. Just because you're not looking at the jar as half empty, you're looking at it as half full, or you're even thankful that there's something in the jar. That's gratitude. Gratitude energizes and helps you to move forward. Then you want to tune out negativity. I always encourage parents to be very careful how they speak to their children who are on a journey to kind of lose weight. Some of our teenagers, they eat indiscriminately and then they tend to put on weight. There was a season in my children's life, one of them, and when he was just, his weight was not good. He wasn't just in a good place health-wise. And what we all did was the entire family went on the journey with him. We all joined in. And so we said, no more sodas in our house, no more this, no more that. And everybody joined in. And that is the way it should be. You should have a support system. Last year, Thanksgiving, which is around November, American Thanksgiving, my children were like, okay, everybody has to get healthy. After the Thanksgiving meal, we're all starting that they're all going to, start shedding weight. And they looked at me and said, Mom, you're joining us. I'm like, what? I don't want to lose no weight. They said, Mom, you have to lose weight. And so they pulled me in and we all set our goals and they wrote them down. And then they told us, if you don't lose the weight within 6 weeks, you're going to pay X amount of money. So everybody joined on the bandwagon. So we have a support system because we were checking in with one another. We were sending in where we were, and we were all looking for what works for us in terms of diet, in terms of exercise. But the good news was once we all finished that whole challenge, our bodies had adapted to the way of living, and we all just continued on that path. It was much a healthier path, and it was good for our bodies. So self-care is very important. Accountability. I encourage you to be accountable first to yourself. And, you know, I always say, maybe not first to yourself, first to God, because he created you and you are his temple. So he owns you. So you are accountable to keep this body healthy, first to God and then to yourself, and then find an accountability partner. And this is where integrative nutrition health coaching comes in. We can be, and a health coach can be your accountability partner. So let me dive very quickly into what integrative nutrition health coaching does for you. It offers quite a number of things. One, we partner with you as your guide, as your mentor, and empower you, and we provide to you, to our clients, ongoing support and guidance as they, you know, set their goals and make sustainable changes. We talk about sustainable changes. We're not talking about diet fads or anything like that. We're talking about lifestyle changes that will be enduring. We listen to you. And because, you know, we're talking about integrative nutrition here, we talk primarily on primary foods. And this is food that feeds us off our plate. So we're talking about your career. So you come to us, you talk about your career, you talk about the issues in your relationship, your home environment, and all of those things, your joy. And we begin to peel the onion layers. And for those of my clients that are Christians, you know, we go into, you know, the space where we go before the Lord, and we bring in the Holy Spirit, we bring in the Father, we bring in the Son into whatever it might be that is going on in any area of their primary food, and we try to kind of walk through it. Some of them may end up needing inner healing, and I would recommend them to, you know, go in for inner healing administration, just to deal with maybe one or two issues that we might have uncovered. So together, we will connect the dots between you and what you want to be. We'll create your personal blueprint, we'll decipher your unique body needs, and we'll set your personal goals, is what we will do. And so you'll be in a supportive environment that enables you to articulate and achieve your goals. We'll give you some techniques, you know, on how to, that will help you. And, you know, we also celebrate your achievements. So 12 steps to better health. These are just kind of like something, you know, for you to take away. Drink more water. Water, water, water. You all know that our body is made up of mainly water. So home cooking. Try to cook at home. If you're that person that always loves to go to restaurant, you want to kind of gradually reduce you going to restaurant, because one, you're not even sure of the ingredients they're using, the salt content. I always find eating out a little bit difficult because they tend to use a little bit more salt than I can handle. You want to experiment with whole grains, sweet veggies, green veggies, healthy proteins. You know, broccoli has a lot of protein. So you don't, you know, you can choose one day in a week where you're not eating meat, you're not eating fish, you're not eating snails. You're just doing veggies. Early this year, I didn't know I could do it. You know, I started off with Daniel's fast, but then I found out that I ended up just going through for about 2.5 months without eating meat, no protein, no animal protein. And it was good and it was easy. It was just you putting your mind to it, setting, you know, just like, this is my focus, this is what I'm going to do. And physical activity, regular activity, find the work you love, nurture your body, and then develop a spiritual practice. We always, always encourage that, because man is a spiritual being, regardless of what anybody might say. Man is a spiritual being. So the core of man is a spirit. And here is our contact information. Our website is neorestore.com, and you can send your inquiries to info@neorestore.com. And our Instagram handle is neorestore -coach. Thank you very much. Pastor Julie.
Awesome. Honestly, what you just shared now, I never realized how deep and how much information There is in this integrative, it's called integrative nutrition. And thank you so much for what you shared with us. I've written quite a number of notes. And in fact, so much notes I wrote down. Let me see one main point that stood out for me. Of course, listen to your body. Like today, I ate something, and in my heart, I'm telling myself, you shouldn't have done that. Because I've been feeling something inside, which I hope I'll deal with when I drink lots of water later. So guys, you can see people clapping. Let me hand over to Oreme. Oreme, do take it over.
Sorry, did you ask a question?
Oreme.
Pardon me?
Not you.
Okay.
Just a second, please.
Pastor T, you don't sound clear.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll try. What is next? Oreme. Can you please ask them? Oreme is supposed to. You know what's happening?
The Q&A.
Don't. Yes, please.
All right. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
great. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
So
yes.
we have a few questions for you, ma'am, if that is okay. I'll just want to ask a few questions here. So the first question I have here is, how can our daily diet significantly influence our mental well-being? And what foods are the ultimate brain boosters? So how can our daily diet significantly influence our mental well-being? And what foods that we eat are the ultimate brain boosters? Thank you.
So, again, it depends on the individual. The ultimate, I can't speak to the food that you need for your brain, because I'm actually just in class in school for brain health and Alzheimer's disease. So I can't speak to that yet at this point, unfortunately. But definitely you want to look for things that would work for you in terms of whole grains. I would recommend whole grains. Those are healthy grains. And in Africa, especially in Nigeria, we have a lot of very, very good whole grains. And some of them are like, millet, ogibaba. Those people of old, they knew all the good stuff. So millet is good. You also have things like oatmeal, those are good for you. And again, it also depends on the individual. Some people can't do gluten. And so that's anything that has, the flour, the starch in it, they can't do all of that. But you can find out what is good for you. Breakfast for some people is what they need, because if they don't eat breakfast, they get a headache. But for some people, they don't need that early morning breakfast. They want to do intermittent fasting. And so they may start eating maybe around 11, 12 p.m. in the afternoon, and they eat for the space of 6 hours. So again, there's no one size fits all. You have to figure out what's the best thing for you. But definitely whole grains, if you're thinking of food, is very good. Be light on dairy products, especially as you grow older. You want to be very light on those things. Not that they're bad, but yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So we're talking all grains and things like millet. Any other all grains food that you can suggest for us, especially for people that are on the other side, maybe from Nigeria? I know we have a lot of all grains on this side, of town, North America.
I
But
think we have
anyone-
millet.
millets, okay.
We have millet in Nigeria. We also can get brown rice, I believe, in Nigeria, and we
Okay.
have whole wheat. So one of the things that happens with wheat or flour is the fact that when it's being processed and being bleached, two important things have been stripped away to get the white flour. And the two important things are fiber, and the other one is called endosperm or bran. Those things are being stripped away from the whole grains or whole wheat flour. And what is left is starch. And that's why we end up taking fiber supplements. And that's why you would always find nutritionists or dietitians encouraging us to eat anything that is naturally brown. Not the ones with brown, but things that are naturally brown, like brown rice, millet, and things like that.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Another one is, can you name some common health conditions that can be reversed or prevented just by adopting a balanced diet?
A lot can be prevented by adopting a healthy lifestyle. I use lifestyle because food alone doesn't do the work. You also have to add in your physical activities. Everybody would always tell you, when you eat this type of food together with activity, I would say be light on salt, be light on sugar, be light on carbs. Not that, carbs exist in most of our foods, fruits, roots, veggies, they have some levels of carbs, but you can, it's the complex carbs that you want to be very careful about. The complex carbs are the ones that are heavy in starch, and especially the ones that are heavy in starch minus the fiber. So you want to incorporate a lot of water. You want to not do so much juices. We think drinking juices is a sign of wealth or affluence. I tell you, drinking juices could actually be damaging to our systems, because of the sugar content. When you take a glass of juice, there's so much sugar in that one glass of juice than what you need. So rather than juicing or drinking, processed juices, you can actually just buy the fruit and eat the fruits, or juice the fruit at home. But even with that, you want to be careful about the sugar content. So smoothies are great, but again, it depends on your body and how your body reacts to taking in that much quantity of sugar in one sitting. So it may work for somebody else, but may not work for you.
All right. So be light on salt, be light on sugar and
Be light on
carbs.
carbs, yes, and
Mhm.
oils too.
And oils. Okay.
Yeah.
Any good oil, bad oil that we can concentrate on?
You can eat any of these things. Okay, for example, like for oil, I normally would use avocado oil or olive oil. Those are my two main types of oil that I use. And I like sesame seed oil, but I only just use that to flavor things, So you definitely can use those oil. You can use for salt, just because of thyroids, I like to use iodized salt. There's sea salt that everybody talks about, which is great. But I tell you, when you use iodized salt, you are in a way preventing you having any, just keeping your thyroid in balance. Again, because iodized salt is cheap, we kind of, we don't respect it. Let me put it that way. And we go for the fancy one. I had been in that place too, until I found out that, hey, look, my thyroid was getting out of balance, and I went back to iodized salt. So a lot of greens, a lot of plant-based food, like I gave you the example of me and my water leaf and ugu. We have plenty of veggies in Nigeria. So do more of the veggies, do more of the fish, do more of the fried fish. They always recommend, buy fish that has scales rather than the ones that do not have scales, just because of the mercury content that they could have, especially if they are what you call it, deep sea, farmed. But if they're home farmed, maybe you can, eat some of those other ones. But the fatty fishes, you want to kind of go light on those things. Again, depends on your body, depends on individuals.
All right. Wow. This is a lot of information.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
May I mention something? Gari is also something that I don't think we give enough respect to in Nigeria, but Gari has a really good fiber content. So just something to throw out there. So
did you say Gari is something that we can consider?
Yes, it has good fiber content. I love my Gari. It's carbs, it's high carbs.
Yeah.
It's moderation, the quantity, you don't feel they always encourage that we don't eat until we're satiated, like we don't eat as if, like kingdom come, I'm full. No, we eat half full, 3/4 full, and we stop. So I do a lot of Gari I make it into a bar, but my quantities are very reduced.
So I think portion control.
Yes.
Portion control is what you are talking about here.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. And you want to make your plate very colorful, some greens, some grains, some fruits, and a lot of water, and some protein.
Okay, awesome. Wow, awesome. Thank you very much. I have a question here in the chat room and says, please, how can we manage fatty liver and IBP with diet?
And high what? Lipid?
IBP, blood pressure.
Oh, blood pressure with diet. So again, in Nigeria, we have hibiscus flowers, Zobo. Zobo is the drink that is very medicinal and very good for high blood pressure. So you can definitely incorporate that as a regular drink in your diet. And, most of the things they will always tell you, avoid high stress situations for high blood pressure. Watch your salt content also is another rule of the thumb, to kind of keep your high blood pressure in balance. So you want to watch all of those things. You want to watch your carbs. If you're going to be eating plantains, do more of the green plantains rather than the ripe or overripe plantains. And even with bananas, you want to do more of not so ripe bananas rather than the ripe bananas, because banana is high in potassium, which is very good, but it's also very high in sugar.
Wow, this is a lot of info. Thank you very much, Ma. So another question with regards to the Gari. So someone is asking that, is Gari advised for pre-diabetics?
If you are in that situation, you don't want to do Gari. You don't, for anybody who is diabetic, you want to really limit your carbs, your complex carbs. You don't want to do a lot of complex carbs. You want to do more of things like salad and vegetables and beans. You can do beans. You do beans, you do black plantain, but you don't want to do heavy carbs like pounded yam, like Gari, and even amala. You want to kind of reduce how often you have to eat those things if you're diabetic.
All right. So no for complex carbs. If
not that just limit
reduce.
Again, okay. Yes, know your body, know what works for you. For me now, I'm not going to run and eat pounded yam. I'm going to think twice about eating pounded yam. So just know what works for you.
Right. Thank you, Ma. One more question. So a question is there a connection between food choices and energy levels throughout the day? If so, how can we optimize our diet for sustained energy?
there is a connection, and it also depends on, you know, what your body is used to. So for some people, a cup of coffee or a cup of tea in the morning would energize them and get them going for the next 3-4 hours. But for some people, they have to eat something, you know, they have to eat some breakfast. So if you are in that place where you need breakfast to kind of get your brain, you know, working and, you know, avoid headaches, do some light breakfast. Again, try, you know, when you train your body to always expect carbs first thing in the morning, it's always going to be expecting carbs first thing in the morning. And you would, you know, you would help it to develop a carb craving throughout the day. But you can actually start your day with your tea or coffee and maybe some fruits. You know, you can start your day with that. And for some people that need something heavier, maybe some oatmeal, you can do that, you know. I really don't do cereals just because of the added sugar component, you know. But again, your body might be able to do cereals. Read the labels, find out what is in the cereals before you go heat it. So, and then you can also like take some snacks, healthy snacks like nuts, a little bit of nuts through maybe every few hours throughout the day, nuts now, fruits then, you know, until your mealtime. Make sure that you have what is called real hunger when you're really, really hungry, and then you can now eat to satisfy the hunger, and that way you can keep your energy level going throughout the day.
All right, one more question, Ma. There's a question about fufu. Is that okay to? Yeah, fufu like cassava, yeah.
Yeah, cassava is part of complex carbs and it's very heavy in starch, you know. The good news about cassava, again, knowing how it's made, I think I grew up in my family with us making our fufu at home. You know, we will grow it and we would ferment it. The good news about fufu is that it's fermented. But the not so great news is that it is heavy in complex carbs. So again, can your body handle, how much of complex carbs can your body handle? So it's okay. There's nothing that is not okay. It's, again, bio-individual, depends on what you're doing. And I'll give an example when I say bio-individual again. My daughter's friend, I was with them just a couple of weeks ago, and apparently she burns 1,300 calories, 1,300 calories every morning when she runs. She runs for 7 miles every morning. And when she does that 1,300, so both of us were in a restaurant about to order food, or we had food. Am I going to eat the same quantity as she does? No, because she's already burned 1,300 in the morning and she's much younger. So her body can handle a whole lot more than my body can handle. So yes, we ordered the same thing, but I was very careful what I took from the table and how much I took from the table. She can do whatever she liked. I could not, because she's born 1,300. When I go for my walks, the max I do in the morning is about 3 miles each morning, which is about less than 5 kilometers every day. And I only barely burn 700 calories. I can't compare with somebody who's burnt 1,300 calories and sitting at the same table. So again, you want to understand your limit, you know, cut your clothes, how do they say it? Cut your clothes.
According to your cloth.
According to your cloth, okay.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, this has been so insightful. And my dear sister Busola, by the way, you guys will notice you keep saying Julie, because that's my first name. Many of you don't know me as Julie. Juliana is a full name, but of recent I've tried to embrace that name again. So I'm known at school as Julie. So Busola, I love you so much. Thank you for the wealth of information that you've given to us, all free of charge. We're so blessed on this platform. And I hope that we have all taken note of her information which we can reach out to her and she can be our coach on different things. For a few days, she will join us on the food and nutrition platform, so that if we have more questions, we can ask her and then we can engage her also beyond that. Love you so much. Thank you so much for the wealth of information that you have shared with us. I'm sure that we are all here very grateful to what you've shared. I can see lots of love and clap emojis right in there. Okay. Bless you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Julie. Thank you for inviting me again.
Thank you. Thank you.